Hey, it's Wednesday night. It is time for Trinity class. We talked about the energy of discernment tonight. Discernment is a simple energy, but it is so useful to you if you know how to apply it. Discernment is basically knowing when you are coming from who you are and when your energy is just shooting off into nowhere. The easiest way I know to get people to have a sensation of that is to do an exercise from internal martial arts called push hands. You see this a lot in things like Bagua and Tai Chi and Zen Yi, all of those ancient Chinese martial arts that are more inside, more internal, where they talk about Qi and things like that as opposed to busting teeth. Those martial arts work with push hands a lot because it's a very subtle way to feel things. It looks a lot like this. You put the back of your wrist against the back of somebody else's hand. Whatever foot you have forward, that should be the hand that's forward, and they should have the opposite hand and foot forward. You then press from who you are, the center of who you are. To get that sensation, we have to back up a little bit. I'm going to start by leaning my weight against scratching. She's going to get into a really braced position, and she's going to imagine putting her focus, her attention, all the way down in her feet, so that as I lean more and more of me on there, in fact, I can take my legs away. Eventually, I'm just totally leaning all of my weight on her, and if she's doing it right, she shouldn't feel pushed against. It should feel like I'm pushing against the ground. I'm not pushing against her. I'm pushing against the ground through her. When she gets to that point where she can feel that she's not doing the work, that I'm pressing against the ground, she's going to turn her body millimeters at a time until she gets to that place where she feels like, whoop, he's pushing against nothing. And there I go. Now, there will be, if you go slow, several moments where I think in my head I'm still pushing against her, but she knows that I'm not. She's already moved her center of gravity away from me, and although my hand is still making contact and I'm still putting out force, I'm putting my energy off that way into nothing. And eventually I'll realize that as I fall on my face. But there's several little moments of millimeter-like travel in between the point where I actually am pushing against nothing and the point where I realize I'm pushing against nothing. That's what push hands is really all about. I'm going to take my centered self, anchored against the ground, and I'm going to press out onto her center line. And if I do that, ooh, I can push her straight back until she moves her hand just a millimeter, and suddenly I'm pressing all of my energy against nothing. And she can feel that. She can feel that all of the pressure's off of her, and now she can press in against me, and there's virtually nothing I can do to stop it until I moved it a millimeter over, and now the advantage is mine again. She moves a millimeter, pushes back. I move a millimeter, there's nothing she can do to stop me. Now I can't stop her. Now she can't stop me. Now I can't stop her. It looks, and eventually you're going to want to put your hand up here because it's going to put a lot of pressure on your wrist. Just rest your other hand on your elbow. It looks like we're making this little circle. And sadly, people that do this don't really have a lot of experience. They end up just doing this thing where they're like, okay, let's agree to make the circle. And so we're just stirring this imaginary pot. Nothing's really happening. I'm not discerning anything. We're just making this little figure eight. For it to really work, I don't think about the circle. I think about pushing in, and she thinks about pushing in. Push in, push in, push in. And if I push really hard, pretty soon we're rocking back and forth. Because I'm almost pushing her over, and then a millimeter of change, and she's almost pushing me over. So this is what push hands really looks like. The value of it is in this moment right here where you can feel, I got no grip, I got nothing. She is totally overwhelming me. Wait a second. Now she's pushing against the ground again. I'm centered. And from this place, I can do almost anything to her. And then just that little bit of millimeter change, and she feels like, whoa, I've got it all back. Now she's lost it. Now she's got it all back. Feeling when you are pressing from the ground against their center line or pressing against nothing is a very subtle change. But when you start to feel that subtle change, then you're using discernment. That's really all discernment is. You say, well, Russell, I'm not going to use discernment very often because I'm not going to do this stupid push hands thing. Well, that's cool. You don't have to do that. But it's really useful if we think of this as a synonym for us having a discussion. In other words, arguing. If I can say, this is who I am, then I'm centered in this. And if I can make a statement about that, here's what I've noticed, then I'm coming from who I am. If she says, and how does that relate to who you are?
How does that relate to who you are?
Then she's moved me a little bit. Now I have to get recentered and go, okay, well, I am, and then I have to make another statement about who I am. But I've learned a little bit more about myself. For instance, I can say, Gretchen, I am compassion, and I've noticed that you've been really beat down at work lately.
And how does that relate?
To compassion. And I say, well, I am compassion, and I just feel that you're a little tired sometimes when you come in.
How does that relate?
Well, I've become aware that it really pulls on the class when some of the members are tired.
Oh, and how does that relate to compassion?
Well, my awareness has built my compassion to the point where I feel like I should say something to you.
How does that relate?
Because I'm compassionate enough now that when I see something and I'm aware of it, I don't think I'm attacking you. I think I'm helping you by pointing it out.
That feels like compassion to me too.
Good. See, that's the dynamic. That's how you get through a discussion, by constantly recentering on what you really care about. What is the heart quality you're bringing? Is it awareness? Is it compassion? Is it leadership? What is it that you're bringing? And all they have to do is ask you how your statement relates to who you are, and then you have to recenter in who you are. That's the dynamic of a really good progressive argument where we get somewhere when we are just making statements about each other. You're not putting much into the class. Oh yeah? Well, you don't know me. Yeah, well, you look like you're that bit. And then we're just doing this stupid thing where we make the circle. Remember? Let's do the agreement. Make the circle. It looks like we're getting somewhere, but we're just putting our energy off into nowhere most of the time. Just making statements about the other person and what they should do and what we think is right. And they don't care about that. She doesn't care what I think is right. When I put my energy into that statement, here's what I think is right, she's like, whatever, I don't care. And all of my energy goes off into nowhere. Discernment is really just knowing when you're making contact with the ground and when you're pushing off into nowhere. When you can feel that physically, you begin to feel it verbally in an argument or discussion situation. And that's where discernment really helps you out. If you think that's cool, come to Trinity class.